Super Troopers 2.
Meow. When a border dispute arises between the U.S. and Canada, the Super Troopers are tasked with establishing a highway patrol station in the disputed area. You know I had to do one.
Yeah. Meow.
Meow.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and start this one off.
I'll probably get hate in the comment section. You did it wrong.
No. Just based on how we do our show, I'll let you start this one. Because we both saw this movie.
Yes.
Not together, but we both saw this movie.
Yes, you know what? I had fun.
Okay.
Is it a good? Is it like an actual structurally sound movie with a beginning, middle, and end? Oh no! They didn't care about plot too much for this one. The plot is just more of an excuse, and it was. I had fun. I felt like, even though it felt like your high school reunion, like, hey, y'all didn't grow up at all. For this one day, it was okay not to grow up. I liked it. It made me laugh. The jokes were funny. The farmer stick didn't get that old to me, so I enjoyed it. What about you?
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and start this off by saying I didn't see the first Super Troopers when it came out, but I was more than familiar with the biggest jokes, I guess, out of the movie, which is the one you just did, the meow one, and the infamous pullover scene from the beginning with the stoners. I was more than familiar with those jokes. So with that being said, I've tried to watch Super Troopers in the distant past, I guess, somewhere within the last decade, and couldn't finish it. I thought it was absolutely ridiculous. And then I finally said, okay, I'm going to power through this thing, and I'm going to watch it before I went to go see the sequel. And I still didn't like it. I didn't like it. I thought there was a couple okay laughs in it. But for the most part, I guess it's because I was overly familiar with the biggest jokes in there, that they weren't impactful for me because I didn't watch them with fresh eyes or anything. So the fact that the biggest jokes I already knew about, and then the smaller ones weren't that funny to me, I didn't care about the first one. So with that being said, I got to go see this one with, I guess, I knew the characters, I knew kind of how the movie was going to go, but I got to see some fresher jokes, which made it a little bit more enjoyable than the first one. But with that being said, because, I mentioned this to you earlier, comedy evolves. And when you go back and watch something that you thought was funny 15, 20 years ago, especially something that was like the crude humor that they used in that this comedy troupe, I guess, what do they call it? Broken Lizard is known for, is not the standard of comedy right now. It's hard to go back and watch that and find it funny anymore. There's stuff like from the 80s that I still think is kind of funny. Even some people might not find the Naked Gun movies funny anymore, but I liked that style of humor.
Yeah, the Naked Gun movies are I enjoyed the Naked Gun movies. Airplane always makes me laugh. I own Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Yeah, so those kind of movies, there's some comedy that's timeless. And then there's some comedy that is a sign of the times. That only worked for that period of time, and then you move on. It's the same for any kind of genre movie. There's some superhero movies that we thought were kind of cool back in the day that aren't cool anymore. And there's a lot of horror movies that were scary back in the day, that like Child's Play, that was scary back in the day, and you check it out now and like, oh, okay, this isn't scary at all. This is kind of stupid.
You can clearly see that.
Yeah, so like I said, that was the style of humor that was popular back then. If you look at like movies like Van Wilder and Waiting, they were really funny back then, at least at our age.
Because I was 15 when Waiting came out.
And okay, I think we're back.
I think we may be back.
Okay. Well, man. Okay, so to go back to what we were just talking about, we were talking about Super Troopers 2. We were reviewing that.
Yes.
Okay, and I don't remember at all. We were just talking about just how characters would kind of just change their character
to fit the narrative.
Yeah, to fit whatever the narrative of that scene requires them to do. Which, like I said, it's a dumb storytelling trope, I guess. But like I said, the jokes were kind of funny. there's a lot of Canadian jokes in this movie.
Well, that's to be expected.
Yeah, yeah.
You be making a movie about a bunch of American cops taking over the Canadian town. That's to be expected.
Yeah, and there's a lot of actually. I was surprised by the amount of cameos in this one. Rob Lowe plays.
Well, I wouldn't consider Rob Lowe's part of cameo.
No, he wasn't a cameo, but there's a couple of few cameos just right at the beginning of the movie. I don't know if I should spoil them.
No, but the intro was pretty funny.
The intro was funny, but it, like I said, it had, when I was watching, I was like, this has nothing to do with the story, and then it explains why it has nothing to do with the story.
Yeah, because when a certain someone gets shot, it's like, what? But that doesn't explain how he's alive later.
Yeah, and
then he's like, oh, it's okay. And then the joke he told right after he woke up after well, I just might have spoiled what it is, but anyway, yes, I actually enjoyed Super Troopers. I actually had a big dumb grin on my face.
And then I like the Mountie characters, who Hayes MacArthur, Tyler Labine, and Will Sasso played 3 Mounties that were kind of their people that they were competing against.
I thought the one with the glasses was Ike Barinholtz for the longest time.
Oh, yeah, that was Hayes MacArthur, I believe, with the glasses. He's on Angie Tribeca. He's really funny on that show.
I thought the whole part about them arguing in the house about Danny DeVito was pretty funny.
Oh, yeah. And then there's a funny cameo of Joe's, kind of like that goes as a running gag throughout the story that you always just wonder, is like, what does this, what do they keep calling back to this for? And then they show you later on.
Yeah, and like a mid-credit scene.
Yeah.
yeah. Did you say for the after-credit scene?
No, I didn't know there was an after-credit scene.
Oh yeah, it pays off to it's the payoff to the bet.
Oh, I thought the payoff to the bet was already right at the beginning. I mean, not at the beginning, but at the end of the movie.
Remember, he added to it in the
law. Yeah. There's a second part to that bet. No, he just did the first part before the end of the movie.
Yeah, he did the first part of the bet, and then after the credits, he did the second part.
Okay, so that's got to do with the blender then.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
It was very quick, but it was like, oh, so he actually saw it. All right.
Yeah. But what was I gonna say? There's a lot. The amount. I was surprised by how bad they were going with the Canadian accents. But the worst one, the one that I thought was the worst, was actually from a real Canadian, which is Labine, Tyler Labine.
Will Sasso's Canadian too.
Will Sasso's Canadian too?
Yeah.
But his was really bad too. So that's why I was like, why? Will Sasso didn't seem to be completely dedicated to the part in this movie. But I didn't know Will Sasso was Canadian also.
Yeah.
But I know Tyler Labine was, and he was.
Well, they were
all pretty bad. They were playing really exaggerated, I guess.
They were playing it very exaggerated. And I thought
Canadian stereotypes.
I thought it was funny. I actually thought the accents were quite funny myself. And like I said, I'm a simple man. I enjoy simple things.
Yeah, this is definitely not where I'm at in movies nowadays. I mean, I could have appreciated for what it was, but
and you also got to respect the hustle. They crowdfunded this movie.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. This was crowdfunded like 4 years ago. This was a long time that they've been that they were trying to get this thing started.
And they got the fans showed up and told them that they wanted it, and they made it. And if they out and based on what we've seen with the numbers so far, they've came out and saw it. So it's showing you that there was a market for a Super Troopers 2. Which in turn may get us Super Troopers 3.
Oh boy, but I hate, as much as I hate to admit it, I did think Emmanuel Shrieky and what was the character's name? The guy Rabbit. I did kind of buy their chemistry.
Me too. Yeah.
Part. I thought that was okay for what it was. But I mean, like I said, this was a really stupid movie that was a nice callback, I guess, to the original. I mean, it was a good sequel to the original. If you were a fan of the first one, then you'll like the sequel. Like I said, I just missed the boat, I guess, on the first one. Yeah, as far as liking it back in the day.
This is Super Troopers and Super Troopers 2 are never movies I would buy at full price.
Right.
But like if I'm like tripping around in Walmart one day and I'm digging through the bin and Super Troopers like $5, I'll pick it up.
Yeah.
And like Super Troopers 2, if I find like Super Troopers 1 and 2 on Blu-ray for like, and I get both of them for like $15-$20, I'd do it.
Yeah.
Cause I enjoyed them. I enjoy the movies. I enjoy that brand. I enjoy that kind of simpleton humor.
Yeah, I think out of all the Broken Lizard movies, I think the one I liked the most, which isn't saying much at all, was probably Beer Fest, and I still think that's one of the stupidest movies in the world.
Oh yeah.
But the director though, Chandra Sakar, I think that's how you Sakar is how you say his last name.
I believe so.
He's been known more recently for directing TV shows. One of which is one of my favorite sitcom shows right now, which is The Goldbergs. So he's really good at directing.
Oh, he directed
TVs.
The Goldbergs?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yep, he's one of the. He's directed quite a few episodes of that show, and he's directed a couple pilot shows that. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, he's recently directed The Goldbergs, which is one of my favorite sitcom shows. So he does direct things okay. Just saying, none of the movies I've ever kind of glommed onto, I guess. Mm-hmm. But I mean, back in the day, I liked the movies like Van Wilder and The Waiting and like this style of humor.
I still enjoy Waiting.
And one of the other things I think about is the Johnny Knoxville movies, because Johnny Knoxville did do a Broken Lizard movie if you count Dukes of Hazzard, which is kind of a Broken Lizard movie.
Yeah.
But he also, like The Ringer and stuff, which I thought was hilarious when it came out, is something I could never watch ever again. Now it's the stupidest movie in the world. If you ever go check out The Ringer, it's pretty bad now.
I know, but I will give you credit. I will give Johnny Knoxville credit for one thing. He knows what works for him, and that's if he's sticking to it.
Yeah.
Case in point, Action Point coming out this year.
Yeah, Action Point. The only thing that intrigues me about that movie is that they're still doing their own all real stunts in that movie.
See that when you when you watch a movie like that, that is the point of the movie. Yeah, there's a story. Again, when you watch a comedy like Super Troopers or Action Point or Bad Grandpa or Borat even. The plot is just an excuse to have the character do the things he's doing.
Do you think that maybe, I don't know if Super Troopers 2 would have worked had they tried to fit it in today's style of comedy? I mean, it might have. They could have done something with it where they actually had a real plot and didn't try to play like a bunch of fake caricatures of real people. Mm-hmm. If they actually played, because Super Troopers 1, they almost felt like real people, where in this one they did not feel like real people at all. So I will give them that. They did, as far as trying to be kind of real characters, they did a lot better in the first one. Where this, like I said, in this one, nobody feels real at all. They all feel like exaggerated caricatures.
Well, you got to take into account that one of the characters was taking a female hormone throughout the movie.
Well, I know that part. Yeah, that part is not. I'm not.
Because the whole scene with the burritos, that was pretty funny to me. Yeah. He just walked in. I tell you, I'm a simple man. I like simple things.
I'm not even going to try and rate this the way I did the Rampage movie, because it would just not be fair at all to this movie. So I'll just go ahead and give my honest rating.
Yeah, give it your honest rating.
I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. Okay,
I'll give it about a 7.
7?
And like I said, I enjoyed it, but I will admit the movie is not a movie that will go down as a comedy classic by no stretch.
No.
Maybe in time it'll get cult status like the first one did.
Maybe. This is definitely doing pretty well in the box office, especially better than the studio was expecting, and better than I was expecting. I thought this was DOA, to be honest with you. I was like, nobody's gonna go see this movie. And
they released it on a smart day.
Yeah, 420 was definitely and I was surprised that there was normal. I've been to movies where I can smell marijuana in the theater. I did not smell any this time.
We went early in the day.
Well, you did. I went at 7:40, which I guess still is on. I don't know.
Maybe when you get to that late night showing, that last one for the night, you might have smelled it.
Probably, because
they might have like tripped their way in there somehow.
Yeah.
Because they, funny enough, they had like a double feature event for Super Troopers 1 and 2, and it started at Thursday night 4:20 p.m.
No. Okay.
So they know what they were doing.
Yeah, they knew what they were doing.